Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. I want to thank everybody who sent me a theme song. I really appreciate it. I got quite a few of them, and it was really hard to make a decision between them on which one to use as far as an opening theme song for the channel. Now, I had some that were like rocking out really good stuff that I think is just totally awesome, but it just didn't quite suit the channel very well. And the one that I ended up going with, I showed it to a few different people, and everybody agreed that it is very uneducated economist style intro. So I hope you like it, and I'm gonna start by editing the video right here and introduce you guys to the very first intro theme song. Afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. Wanted to share this Bloomberg article with you guys. It's talking about the excess amount of lumber that is in the system now. And I knew this was going to take place. There was a lot of lumber yards, distribution networks. Everybody went into a panic buy. When they ran out of lumber and they could not find it, and there was a demand for it going through the roof, and builders were paying any price for it, the panic buy was on. Everybody was ordering lumber 6, 7, 8 weeks in advance, trying to get a hold of as much lumber as they could, thinking that there was going to be a huge demand for lumber this year. As the prices of homes were going up and the inventory levels were dropping, everybody thought for sure there was going to be a mass amount of houses being built right now, and quite the opposite has taken place. It's not that there's not homes being built, it's just that it's not a huge influx of homes like people thought that there was going to happen. So right now, the lumber yards are sitting on an intense amount of lumber, and it's very expensive. And the longer this goes on, the cheaper that the lumber is going to get from the mill side of things going into the system, because they need to push that lumber out there. They can't be sitting on it as far as their inventory goes, or else they end up shutting down their production. And that is not a profitable place to be. So they're trying to push that out into the system, and they'll keep dropping prices as long as that's what it takes to get it moving out there in through the pipelines. The only problem is that everybody's sitting on expensive lumber, and nobody wants to cut their losses. Like say finally, okay, we're just going to drop it down to we're take 50% off our price or whatever. They're going to take a huge loss on that, and nobody's willing to do it. Everybody wants to just cycle through their lumber, at least mark it down a little bit, try and bring in some new inventory. But when you're already sitting on a lot of expensive inventory, the last thing you want to do is bring in more inventory, especially if it's not selling on a regular basis. So this is some of the things that we're experiencing right now within the lumber industry. Now, I said this a long time ago, and it's really playing out, and that is that the decision to make when you make that decision to build a house, you're probably going to end up making the decision at the most inopportune time to get the most opportunity out of it. And what I mean by that is that when lumber hit $17.50 per thousand, a lot of people were backing off. They're like, man, I do not want to start a project right now with lumber as expensive as it is. The only thing is that the moment that you decide that you are going to build to the moment that you actually start building is quite a few months down the road. So conditions will change by the time you actually start building. So when lumber hit $17.50 per thousand, that's really should have been for people to take that counterintuitive thought and say, now is the time that I need to decide to build, because lumber prices are going to be dropping very dramatically going into the future. Nobody could predict that with any kind of accuracy. It would be a total guess. But yet, if you had made that decision right now, you'd be building with almost the cheapest amount of lumber that you've had in months. That's something that, like, most people probably didn't think about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when prices were peaking out. So it's really noticeable right now within the system that there is a slowdown taking place as far as new builds go, especially when it comes to the walk-in customer, decks, fences, working on the garage, maybe remodeling the basement or something. These type of activities have really backed off, and you don't see nearly as many walk-in customers coming into the lumber yards as we did last year. Now, somebody asked me to explain that a little bit deeper on like what happened last year compared to this year if we go into a lockdown. Now, last year when we went into lockdown, people went home and thought, man, what am I going to do? I'm going to rebuild the fence, or build a fence to block the neighbor out, redo the deck, build a chicken coop, build raised garden beds, enjoy my surroundings, maybe, remodel the office or even paint the house or do something. We're going to be locked down at home. Let's improve our environment. And they were given a stimulus check. So when the lockdown took place, all of a sudden the lumber yards were just filled with customers buying up all the pressure treated lumber. Now that went on for all summer long until they completely depleted the inventory out there. Now, there's a lot of story to that, but that's pretty much what happened last year. This year, they don't need to rebuild the deck again. They don't need to put up another fence. They don't need to remodel the office. They don't need to do any of this stuff. That all took place last year. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people who are going to be, doing those types of projects, but the influx of people coming in, like that huge wave of people saying, hey, we need to do these projects in order to block out the neighbors and to enjoy our environment, that type of thing is not really in the future. I mean, it's already happened. So the idea that you need to build the deck again is just not there. So that's one of the reasons why you're not going to see like a big push for lumber during a lockdown if we were to go into another lockdown. So anyway, just wanted to bring up that article. I found it very interesting, and it's not too much unlike what I have been saying as far as the lumber yards filling up on a lot of expensive inventory and needing to push that inventory out there before they can bring in the cheaper stuff. But Bloomberg has a great article on it, and I'll leave it linked down in the description for you guys. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.